American Riviera orgasm.
Oh my gosh!
That's what it is. That works, doesn't it?
Hi all, Kinsey Schofield here, and I'm in the UK. We thought it would be fun to have an official tea party. It's a boys' club today. I'm just one of the boys, and I couldn't be more thrilled with that. Thank you so much for being here. I've got Cristo Foufas right here,
Hello.
the co-host of Pump Up the Jam, an absolute heathen. He has stalled us for 20 minutes. And then over here I have Kevin O'Sullivan. I love you so much, Kevin. Thank you for doing this. I know that there's like 500 other things you'd rather be doing, so I greatly appreciate you being here. And then Ryan-Mark Parsons, this is our first date.
Yeah,
so
we've never met before.
I know.
You've turned me straight.
Well, and that is why you're here. But a brilliant commentator, culture commentator, and a lover of the British royal family. And I think we all love the British royal family, don't we?
Yes, we do. Of course
Absolutely.
we do.
Okay, I know you do.
Why do they get, oh my God, I love you, so great to be here. He's kept us waiting for 20 minutes.
That's true.
Because this is the honest
she likes
hour.
you.
Oh, the honest hour. Okay, she likes me the least. That's fair enough.
All right, so you guys know I love the United Kingdom. I love to visit you. What's your favorite part of being from the UK?
Okay, well, I love the pageantry. Yeah. I love the fact that we've got so many problems in the UK and so many things that we complain about and so many things that we don't like and so many things that we analyse and so many things that are irritating or that people find irritating. However, when the proverbial hits the fan and we need to do a coronation or a funeral or a troop in the colour, we get it together better than any other nation in the world. And we have that pageantry, we have all of that tradition, we have all of it, and no other country can beat us for that.
Well, that's true. I cannot deny that. Kev?
What do I like about Britain? Having lived in your fine country, of course.
That's right. He lives in LA.
I can compare and contrast. I like irony.
Yes.
Which you don't get in America. Try making a sarcastic, satirical joke in America. They'll take you at face value. Say things like, "Oh, I love it when babies get killed." Do you? Why?
Well, that was an extreme. We'll fix that in edit.
But I want to put another.
We've gone there.
And the other thing, I'm nicking two things that I like about living in Britain. That's football, proper football, soccer. So for me, that makes it all worthwhile. When I was in the States, I used to miss it terribly and have to get up at like 6 a.m. to go down to Santa Monica to watch football matches, and it doesn't work.
It just wasn't for you, huh?
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, what about you?
See, this is probably going to be quite contentious.
Uh-oh.
But I love British foods, and I don't understand why we've got such a bad reputation for British food. I love a crisp sandwich. I think that's really quintessentially British. No, a chip butty. That's quintessentially British.
Have you got any other examples that don't involve something going between two pieces of bread?
Sausages and mashed potato, quintessentially British. Absolute. Have you had that yet? Absolute delicacy.
Did I have that?
Sausage and mash.
Sausage and mash with
Did
a
I
bit of
have
gravy.
that?
It's
No.
horrible.
Oh.
It's not horrible. It's not horrible. Fish and chips. We get
Delicious.
slated so much,
I like
but we've got
those.
so many amazing delicacies that I think need to be celebrated more.
I agree
Eels?
with you. I agree with you.
Jellied eel?
Not eel. Not eel.
No?
No.
All right.
No. Sausage roll. Have you had the sausage roll?
Was that from Greg's?
Yeah, they do the best sausage rolls. But all of this stuff is life changing. And I think we need a better reputation internationally for our food. And
Okay.
I'm fighting for that here.
Living for your enthusiasm. We will start that change.org petition as soon as we leave the building. So let's jump into some of our topics. We do have, speaking of us versus them, we have two big elections coming up.
We do.
But is there enthusiasm for either one of them is really what I want to know. When we've got Joe Biden, I hear a lot of negativity about Keir Starmer, but I also hear that he could potentially win.
Could potentially win. He's going to storm it, definitely. God knows why. He's going to win by default because after what is it now, 13 years of Tory rule. It's cyclical. People have had enough. They want to change. And unfortunately, the change we're going to get will be Keir Starmer. But it is interesting, both sides of the Atlantic. You know, in America, and we're saying this about America as well, is that the best they can do? 2 octogenarians, these 2 old dudes, you know, no good, who wants them? Well, you'll find everywhere you go in the world, when you have 2 candidates, 3 candidates for election, the entire nation will say, is this the best we can do? So our choices over here are pretty lousy, and the choices in America are pretty lousy too, but that's the way of the world.
I mean, this is what you do. What are you thinking watching what's going on in the political space right now?
Well, I've been on the campaign trail for, I think over 3 weeks. Every single day since the election's been called, I've been on the doorsteps talking to British voters, and I think it is a travesty that we've got Keir Starmer, who's looking likely to be the next Prime Minister with a supermajority representing the Labour Party that's likely to be bigger than Margaret Thatcher's, right? Someone as iconic as Margaret Thatcher and Tony Blair. So that's why I'm fighting for the Conservative Party, to make sure that we get an opposition to scrutinise the Labour Party, to make sure Keir Starmer doesn't have a blank cheque to do whatever he likes.
So wait a second, you're fighting for the Conservative Party while you still can?
Yes.
In terms of them actually existing, because after the election, they're probably going to get pulverised into oblivion.
Well, it's looking dire.
Do you know why? Because they're absolutely useless.
But not as useless as Joe Biden. I saw him at the G7 event, and he was just standing there. Like, what is wrong with this guy? He's your president. He should not be president in that state. I mean, I feel sorry for you guys over there, because if that were my leader, I think I'd be wanting to come here like you.
Yeah,
Feel sorry for us. Feel sorry for the world. This is the most powerful man on the face of the planet, with his finger on the button, and he doesn't even know what day it is, doesn't know when his son was born, can't remember when he was vice president. It's absolutely beyond a joke. It is ridiculous that America is fixing to put this guy in the hot seat for 4 more terrifying years.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Joe Biden will be re-elected? Or is that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about Thatcher. You had me at Thatcher.
Cartoon hearts around his eyes.
Thatcher. Because I think you raised a really good point about Thatcher and about actually all of our leaders. We haven't had a politician that cares more about being right than being liked for years. And I think that is a real ideologically based politician, a politician that is just based on what they believe rather than opinion polls or flip-flopping or all those things. And I think that our politics has suffered massively as a result of it. I think, Kevin, you're absolutely right. When Labour win, it won't be a vote for Labour, it will be a vote just against what's been happening for the last 13 or 14 years. I think Biden, no one knows, he doesn't know where he is, he doesn't know who he is, he seems to be deeply, deeply unsuitable. I don't love Trump, but I love how much Trump annoys people. I mean, I love the hysteria around Trump, and I find him incredibly entertaining. And I wonder as well, and people don't always agree with me, but you know, when we're looking at our enemies around the world and, you know, all this sort of instability, the fact that Trump is so unhinged, I wonder if that almost makes us a bit safer, because the enemies kind of go, well, we actually have no idea what he'll do because he's completely mad. And so I wonder if in a weird way we're safer. The only thing I will say about Trump, going back to him though, is he shouldn't have walked in front of the Queen, bringing it back to the royals.
Well, that is
he did adore her, but he shouldn't have walked. Don't roll your eyes at me, O'Sullivan.
He didn't see her. I mean,
but he should have.
We should have been looking for her.
Never stood next to the Queen. When she was alive, she was absolutely miniature.
So sweet and small.
I'm just saying that is the one black mark. Well, not just the only one, but that's one of the black marks that go against the name. I don't know what you would call Sunakism at all.
Well, he'll be remembered as completely useless, utterly pointless, a waste of time, you know, and in the annals of prime ministers may well go down as worse than Liz Truss.
Oh, wow.
At least Liz Truss didn't have long enough to make a catastrophe of the country. Sunak, I think he's a decent guy.
I do too.
I think he's a nice little guy, doesn't know what conservatism is, and he's an absolutely hopeless politician.
Well, I did actually meet on the campaign trail when I was in Milton Keynes. I met Rishi Sunak and I had a 5-minute chat with him. And out of all of the politicians I've met, I think he's actually the most personable politician.
Right guy,
he actually seems like he is listening to you. But I think, unfortunately, most people are going to remember him for not having Sky TV when he was younger.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
no,
the
I
kind
know.
That's the kind of
advising
legacy
him
he's going to leave.
and leaving the commemorations early was
Ooh,
so misjudged.
that was bad.
But at least Truss, I mean, Truss was only in for a few weeks, but you knew what
44 days, wasn't
Trussism was. I mean, she at least had a plan and you knew what she stood for. She went to the destination in the wrong way, but the destination was correct and you knew what she stood for.
Yeah, but the
We haven't had that
lettuce
for ages.
outlasted Liz Truss. I think that's going to be her greatest memory. An actual lettuce lasted longer than Liz
Yeah.
Truss.
Speaking
Which
of
says
lettuce,
everything.
there's lettuce in our sandwiches.
Oh, should we,
Oh.
are we going to crack into this?
no, I just
Are
said,
these,
I
I don't know
Why?
if
Is
these
this
are
allowed
props.
to eat them?
Are
Is this
these
actually
props?
food?
Are we
Are they
allowed to eat
purely a
them?
prop? I'm
I
starving.
don't
Can I
know.
try it? I'll try
No,
the
I'm
egg.
going to eat one.
While you eat them, I want to know who your
Baked
dream
tarts.
royal dinner party guests are. I think that mine is obviously Princess Diana. Oh my gosh, she's got stories.
Oh, sorry, I'm actually eating now.
Yeah, you are. Go to town.
town.
I think I would want Prince William, just so I could stare at him lovingly, and then his wife, just to make sure that
That there was no inappropriate behaviour on your
just
behalf.
to make sure that no one
towards him.
accused me of anything.
So it might,
So that's-
so it might still happen. You just don't want to be accused of it.
No, I'm just saying that just so all of my bases are clear. But I also love his wife. I love the Princess of Wales. But also, there are so many good royals.
Yeah.
I'd have Meghan there.
Ugh, really?
I'd have Meghan at a dinner party. I'd want to see how she operates. I'd want to be fascinated by it. And you know that if Meghan was there, we'd all be arriving by private jet. We would all have blacked out Range Rovers from the private airfield. You know that you would have Cristal champagne and the best there. Otherwise, you know that she would be referred to as Duchess. You know
You'd
it
have her
would be
jam.
high end. We'd have a jam and we'd have a biscuit for the dog. So,
But she'd be talking about herself the whole time. The whole conversation would just be about her. I mean, is that the kind of person you want at a
Her
dinner
soap
party?
story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
How
I'd
soporific.
have her there, but I wouldn't just have her. Can I have Margaret Thatcher? I know she's not royal, but she thought she was by the end.
She's political royalty.
Yeah, I want Thatcher as well. I put Thatcher next to Meghan. see how that would get along.
Put Thatcher next to Meghan now.
Yeah.
Yeah, put Maggie's skeleton there.
Oh my God.
See how that goes. Yeah, that'd be quite a good dinner party, wouldn't it? Maggie, you haven't been eating. You need to eat something.
You can fit into those tiny skirts now.
Here's a dog biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have those two. And Queen Elizabeth and probably Prince Philip as well. Put Prince Philip next to
So
me.
you're having the entire royal family.
Yeah, that's pretty
Haven't got any
bold.
left.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not Margaret and the Fergie and Diana. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I'd probably have
Who would you have?
King Henry VIII. I'll go back a bit. I'd find out why he was so angry. What actually happened to his wives? I'd be so intrigued. I think that would
I think
make...
they lost their heads.
Yeah.
Well, some of them did. Yeah, but why was he so furious? And why
Because he
was
couldn't
so...
divorce them.
I think he'd just be a really fun guest, as well as the Queen. I think I never got to meet the Queen. I went to the Lying in State twice.
Oh.
Obviously, she was dead.
Was Philip Schofield next to you?
No, I didn't see him.
Okay.
No, but
He was ahead. He was way ahead.
skipped the queue, right?
You saw a glimpse of him as he
Yeah,
walked
zooming
past.
past with Holly Willoughby. But yeah, I would definitely have the Queen there. I mean, I was gutted I never got to meet her when she was alive. But, it's kind of the same, isn't it? In a
I
coffin.
met her.
You did? Tell us. I didn't know you've met Queen
I
Elizabeth.
spoke to her about 8 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
I must have told you that story
No,
before.
no, I haven't heard
I was
this.
at the
Tell me.
Royal Variety performance
Okay.
quite a few years ago. I'll tell you, this dates it. It was when the cast, you're like this, Cristo, it was when the cast of Dallas were there
Oh.
for Who Shot JR.
Sorry, we're swapping places.
Yeah, so it was Larry Hagman, Linda Gray, Patrick Duffy, the whole gang were there. So what happened? She was desperate to get out, but Prince Philip was much more chatty. Mm-hmm. So she zoomed around this food. She goes, yeah, good to see you, we're out of here. She gets to the end of the line and turns round, and Philip is, I'm not kidding you, is about 20 people back.
No.
And so she goes, ew. So she sort of stood there and turned around and said, did you enjoy the show? And I said, yes, ma'am, did you? Yes. Went on rather long. I said, it always does, every year. She said to me, I'm always rather jealous of all those West End performers that get the night off, because, they close all the other plays down. And I said, yeah, we don't get the night off, do we? No, we don't, do we? And so on and so forth. So we're chatting. And she said, which paper do you work for? I said, The Sun. She went, yeah. And so on and so. Anyway, it went on. There's a guy from the Daily Mail, God rest his soul, a guy called Pat Hill. So he's realising that. So after about 4 minutes, the only thing I'm thinking is, I'm talking to the Queen. I'm talking to the Queen. It's the only thing that's going through my head. And this guy's kicking me in the side of the leg. And anyway, it goes on and on and on. I think we're talking about the weather by the time Philip finally turns up. I'm going, come on, Phil, come on, get me out of here. So Phil turns up and he says, Philip, this is Kevin O'Sullivan from The Sun. And he went, oh, for God's sake, grabbed her and stormed out. So that was my meeting with the Queen.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. So wait, who would you have dinner with? Who's your dream dinner guest for royalty?
Yeah, I would have, if they can be recently dead, I suppose, I'll have Prince Philip, definitely.
Okay, yeah. Even though he wasn't too thrilled to see you, but yes.
No, he wouldn't.
They could make up. It would be lovely.
I didn't get the chance to say. We met before, Prince Philip, because I met him once when I was on a local paper and I had to take these kids out.
Wait, so how many royals have you met?
I met Diana.
No! Oh my gosh! Tell me about
I
that.
met Diana when I was a young reporter doorstepping her at a flat. She used to have this apartment in...
Is this before she was princess?
Yeah. When she was dating Charles.
Yeah.
Nobody had actually confirmed it, but we knew she was. So every night there'd be this sort of phalanx of reporters out and photographers outside our house. And one time I was standing there with this photographer and it was pouring with rain. And she came home and she said, well, why don't you at least come in and stand in the foyer? So she let us stand in the foyer because it was pissing with rain. So she struck me as rather nice.
And I've seen you at royal garden parties. Have you ever had any royal encounters?
So I met, now King Charles, but he was Prince Charles at the time because Queen Elizabeth was alive. But I went to the garden party a couple of years ago. They have no alcohol though, which was very disappointing. Yeah. I actually asked for a martini.
As you do.
As you do, but in the tent where they have the scones and sandwiches.
Nice to meet you. Could you get me
Could you grab me a glass?
Would that be all right?
Anything slightly stronger? Yeah, your highness.
But yeah, it was amazing. It was raining though. We didn't have nice weather like this, but it was still incredible. And it was just because we had a bit of a break because of COVID. First garden party back, and it was full morning dress. Proper occasion.
Oh my gosh.
Loved it.
I love your life.
Here's the thing about Buckingham Palace though. The gardens are lovely. Inside, it's really shabby. It's falling apart at the seams. Yeah.
But they're
really
redoing it right now, aren't they?
Well, they and they need to. But the first time I went there, I was shocked. Sort of wallpaper hanging off.
Ooh.
It's a real
Damp
mess.
up in the corner.
Real, sort of threadbare carpets. It's a real mess.
Oh my goodness.
The garden is huge. I was walking around, and they actually have a tennis court at the back of the garden.
Do they?
Yeah, a little tennis court. I was shocked.
And they got the swimming pool around the back as well.
Yeah.
They've turned the temperature down to save money and to save the planet, and the staff are really fed up about it.
I'm so glad that they've made those sacrifices.
Because their swimming pool is freezing.
Those are some sacrifices.
My mother used to do flowers for Diana.
I know. I have that picture saved to my phone.
You have the photo. I met Charles and Camilla when they were Prince and Duchess of Cornwall. But I was just a reporter and I was wearing jeans and a really shabby shirt because I didn't know that day I was going to Clarence's house. So I literally went looking like an absolute tramp for a Prince's Trust thing. But I met the Queen when I was 4 as well. She came to open...
What was that, in 1920?
She came to open the... I really don't think as the oldest at the table you've got a leg to stand on there. But... Well, she came to open something
the fattest.
in St Albans. Are we going there? He came to open the Abbey in St Albans, or something to do with the Abbey in St Albans, like the chapter house or something. And there were all these crowds in St Albans, and I was very, very young, and I wanted to see her, and I had this very limp bunch of flowers, and I couldn't get to her, so I broke away, and my mum grabbed me and pulled my shirt off, so shirtless as a 4-year-old, I ran through the security and got to the Queen, and I gave her these flowers. And she was like,
what did she say?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very kind, and the police sort of dragged me away. And that was
Thanks,
the only
kid.
time I met her.
Oh, that's
And you
I had
remember
my top
this?
off. I was slimmer then.
You remember this, or you've been told?
Yeah, I remember vaguely. She was wearing, I think, bright yellow that day, and I sort of remember getting to her, and I remember going, sort of crawling through the railing. I don't remember much else. My mum's told me a lot about that.
Can we recreate it after this?
Yeah, okay. Kevin, you're playing the Queen.
Again?
We've got a yellow hat for you outside.
All right, so I know that this is a table full of people that have a lot of opinions about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and their behavior over the last few years. But if we take, if we go a positive route, let's discuss how they could improve their image.
You're in England now, it's a route. Sorry.
Route. Let's discuss the positive route of how Harry and Meghan could
do more of that.
improve their image. Do you? I mean, how? Where do we go, Cristo?
Where do you start?
Stop slagging off your family constantly. Yeah. Get a job and actually do something. Actually try and get some proper donations to Archwell rather than taking credit for the COVID vaccine that you supposedly cured. Stop
Allegedly.
producing absolute tat like, dog biscuits and tea towel. Shut up. Like, stop going to the media and talking about what complete victims you are constantly. That would be my 5-point initial strategy.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty strong strategy. Let's go. Or would I say strategy?
Strategies, all right.
What about you, Kev?
First off, I would suggest that Harry stop suing every person who ever drew breath, every newspaper that was ever published. Stops styling himself as a dragon slayer of the media. You're not a dragon slayer, Harry, and you will never beat the media. We're stronger than you ever will be. It's as simple as that. So that would be one thing. Also, again, Cristo implied, I think they should just do something. They're not really doing anything.
Right.
Harry in particular. I mean, what is it that he does?
It's called marijuana.
What is it that he does apart from drugs? So stop suing everyone and do something. Do something practical. If it doesn't earn you a living, make it a nice charity initiative or something like that. Same for Meghan. Stop hiding behind those gilded gates of your Montecito mansion, us against the world. The other day I thought it was appalling, Trooping the Colour. You and I, Kinsey, we had a joke about it, that I wonder what Meghan will announce on the day of the Trooping of the Colour, particularly now that Kate has suddenly indicated she's going to be there. It was kind of a joke. Guess what? Following morning, Trooping of the Colour, she announced she's launching a range of dog biscuits. I mean, really?
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Where did that come from? So wind your neck in, Meghan. Do something practical. And by the way, if you must have this ridiculous website, this lifestyle website, what's it called? American Riviera Orchard. Can you sell something on it?
Yeah. No,
I think just there, not selling anything.
You can get sent a jar of jam.
I think it's
I wasn't on the list.
It is important that we stress, like we're saying, do something, and then we're also criticizing her for the dog biscuits. But when you can't purchase the dog biscuits, it's self-promotion. That is full-on self-promotion.
Or do something useful, like what dog biscuits and Meghan Markle. I mean, how they connected. I just think it's so random.
Yeah, well, what would you do?
So I think we've heard these suggestions before. I will go completely out of the box, a really niche PR strategy. I would get Meghan to start a sex toy company.
Oh my God.
Yep.
And I would get her...
I'm liking it so far.
I can see. I would get her...
I am actually. Go on.
I would get her to gag Harry so he just shuts up.
I thought I was bad.
And some fluffy handcuffs so he just can't do anything. And that's it. Just make products for themselves. I think that's a really niche, out-of-the-box solution.
Here's another suggestion to improve their image. This is to Harry directly. Please, please, please don't make a Netflix series about polo.
Oh.
No one gives a damn about polo. It is the most boring sport that ever existed. So just because you and your chinless wonder mates like riding around falling off horses being tedious on this massive great pitch with playing this stupid game that nobody cares about. Doesn't mean to say anyone else is interested in it. So abandon that project. That would help.
American Riviera Orgasm.
Oh my gosh!
That's what
That
it is.
works,
That
doesn't
works,
it?
doesn't it?
That's the name of it.
But actually, quite seriously, you and I have spoken about this before. Harry was in such a brilliant position that he could have, his brother is going to be commander-in-chief of the military. He could have positioned himself so brilliantly as being the person that the veterans look to for inspiration. His brother is the person who is in charge while they are serving. Harry could have been the one, having served himself, being a veteran himself, that worked tirelessly with the British Legion, that maybe made documentaries about what it is like. I know he's done Invictus, but really built on that. And so therefore you are perhaps, even if you left the royal family, you are perhaps still trying to make some money, but making documentaries that are brilliantly worthy of stuff that needs to be heard. Homeless veterans.
You can't try to slam the Queen by saying, you don't have to be a member of the royal family to live a life of service and then go sell your secrets to Netflix. I think that they don't really show us that they're living a life of service, and that's one of the issues we have with them.
Self-service.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll know this area. Did you know that on Skid Row in Los Angeles, 8% of the people there are veterans? Start at home. Start with the homeless crisis in Los Angeles. We see them jump on private jets to go hobnob in foreign countries. Start at home, and I think it would do them a lot of good if we saw them physically doing a lot more charity work. But also, I think it would be a blessing if they disappeared for a significant amount of time and let us forget or try to forget about a lot of the hurt that they caused. What were you going to say?
But they've kind of done the opposite to what Cristo is saying, because I remember Harry was talking about in his book the amount of men or women that were killed, and he was completely castigated by ex-servicemen and women.
You don't talk about that. You don't talk about the people you kill.
it.
I think, what did he say, 14?
I thought it was 25.
Was it 25?
The kills, however many kills it was. You're right. And it comes across as a brag.
Yeah.
It's really unsavoury. And that could have been a brilliant PR strategy for them, but they just seem to flail around. I mean, do you remember when they were at that premiere and he was sort of touting for voiceover work for her?
Yeah, Meghan Markle loves elephants.
I'll give you a bit of advice in life. Never trust anyone who calls their job service. Politicians do this. I've devoted my life to service, and made several million quid along the way. Don't trust anyone who calls their job service. They're liars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was positive.
Yeah.
We're in a happy mood.
Feel really good about that right now. Let's talk about the King's reign, because this, a year ago, I would have said, I'm so impressed. I was pleasantly surprised, but the last 6 months have been pretty devastating when it comes to the family's health. I mean, we are seeing a king that is fighting. We're hearing stories behind the scenes about how he's going against doctors' orders and wants to be out there and wants to continue to be seen and working hard. But it has been kind of defeating if you are a royal watcher over the last 6 months, watching, hoping that the Princess of Wales is going to be okay, hoping that the king comes out okay. It's been a tough time.
And it's really, if you looked at this as like a fairy tale, with kings and queens, and this is the man that's waited to be king for so many decades, and then within a few months of being crowned, getting his coronation, he's ill. I mean, it's a tragic fairy tale in itself. But I think that under the circumstances, he's done incredibly well. I think the one thing to note, actually, I think he's done really well at, and he made a note about this he made a point about this in the TV address he did after the death of his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth. He said, I know I'm going to have to, more or less, I'm paraphrasing, but I know I'm going to have to sort of not give my opinions. I'm going to have to sort of step back from some of the debates I've been involved in. Words to that effect. And he has. Yeah. And I think in fairness he has.
Well, not the greenery. Still going on about that green claptrap, isn't he?
Well, I think you can.
That's political, and he should shut his mouth about it.
I disagree.
So should William.
I think.
This is political. This is political.
I'll tell you what I think about that. I think that being environmentally friendly is not political.
Yes, it is.
What is political is the route by which people try and get there. And if you're going to be penalised and taxed or whatever to get there, that's political. But anyone saying, look, we want cleaner air and we want a nicer place to live, that's not political.
I don't think
that's just
caring
common
about the
sense.
world
I
you
don't
live
want
in.
that. I don't want to waste any effort on it.
You don't want to waste.
So
you don't want,
why
you
do I
don't
feel
want
this-
less
Yeah,
rubbish.
why do
You
I-
don't want less nice air.
Kevin and I,
Not particularly. That's why I live in a city.
But
We're-
what
we're
about
not-
the
Still have-
young people like me? You know, we need to live in the world that you're going to
I
live.
don't care about young people, for God's sake. Live or don't, doesn't matter to me.
Well, your time's nearly up. You know,
Why
we've got to
should
live on-
I?
we've
Why
got to
should I?
live on
Why
Earth
am I supposed
that's
to care
not
about
damaged by
you?
old
Why am I
people.
supposed to care about you?
Because we want to enjoy the
I
world.
don't care
that
about
we-
you, right? So
This
leave
is
it.
the-
We
Leave it.
want
This
to
is-
enjoy the world that you've lived
Oh,
on for
you
100 years.
go right ahead. Don't expect me to care about it.
This is the
I
longest
don't care
I've-
about your welfare.
This is the longest I've spent with him in ages.
It's honestly, young people, why don't you care about us? Because I don't.
No, I just think it's just nice to have less rubbish in the oceans. Less
It's political.
But the route is political, I believe.
Well, no.
Caring for the planet
Neither
is not
Charles
political.
nor William should drone on about the environment because it's political.
Did you know his Aston Martin runs off
wine and cheese.
wine and cheese?
Yeah, do you know how much it costs to convert his engine for that? £54,000. So that's what.
If it's saving the planet, it's worth
Oh
it.
yeah, because we can all go and spend 54,000 quid, can't we, on our cars?
Oh, yeah, well, that sadly I agree with, which is making me question everything I've ever
Yeah,
thought. But yeah, okay. Well, we disagree on that.
Yeah, I mean it's
But on everything else, he's shut up.
It's
He's not writing letters to politicians. He's not doing all of that anymore, is he? Sorry.
Yeah, he thinks his opinion is very important, and that's why he's
No, but it is.
bombarded.
He's the king.
He's bombarded. Well, it's not really. It's not
He's the king.
particularly.
He's the head of state. Of course, it's important.
Well, yeah, but what practical function does he fulfil in terms of governing the country,
But I don't
apart
think he's
from
supposed
being the figurehead, the kind of decorative figurehead? None whatsoever.
And he's a great decorative figurehead.
Yes,
He's a
we can have
wonderful
that. There's
decorative
nothing wrong
And
with
a
having
word on Queen Camilla as well, because I think she's sort of got into the role very well and has been head of the family as well at times over the last few months while the family has been indisposed.
Which I think probably gets on Prince Harry's nerves quite a bit.
he would hate that.
He likely is.
We like her for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but she has. I love the turnaround of Camilla. I think it's brilliant. Now, again, you look at the comparison with Meghan. How much Camilla was absolutely rinsed by the press, loathed. If
Rottweiler.
If Camilla had ever sold her story, she'd have got millions. If Camilla had written a book, she'd have got absolutely millions. She got her head
Do you
down.
think anyone would have bought it though? People did not.
I don't think people really
like her. At
No,
the
I think
time.
that they
It
would
wasn't.
have
just
wanted
it
to
wasn't
know
a-
the
it
ins
was-
and outs.
all this sort of blame the press, blame the media. The media and the press only ever reflect what the people are thinking, and the people hated Camilla for being a marriage
and
wrecker.
I get why, but what she did was she understood and she got the fact that this is what happens with the press. This is what happens. You've got to ride it out. You've got to, Kate had bad press at times. You've got to ride it out. You've got to get your head down. You've got to be stoic. You've got to never complain, never explain. And as it turns out, that made her more qualified than many of the members of the royal family that we have. Meghan and Harry couldn't handle that. And that was why they ran away. If Camilla, I would argue, got way worse press.
But this was also Camilla's life. This was Camilla's environment. This was her world. Was it her grandmother that had an affair with the king's great-great-grandfather? I mean, this was in her blood.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in Meghan's blood. And I'm not defending her. Please, God, don't think I'm defending her. I'm just saying that they're two very different worlds. I mean, Camilla probably heard stories all of her life about the royal family and knew a little bit more how to navigate it than Meghan Markle, who was just, let's be honest, feverishly Googling that family leading up to, after Ashley Cole blocked her on, blocked her on Twitter.
But you're absolutely right. Camilla comes from those circles. I mean, she knew the royals before she knew Charles. That's the circle she comes from, the sort of Shire horse riding.
So did Meghan need more help?
Well, Meghan doesn't come from those kind of circles, to say the least.
She'll tell you she came from the salad sizzler, the Sizzler salad, $4.99 salad bar. But the reality was, Daddy was paying for some very expensive dance classes in Beverly Hills.
Daddy, oh, she has a father. I didn't know that she did.
Nor does she.
So little, yeah.
But with Camilla, I mean, I still look at her, people my age, I'm 24, I think a lot of Gen Z still look at Camilla, even though all of this happened before we were alive, and they just see the cheater.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, they see the woman that interfered in a relationship between Charles and Diana, and I don't think I can forgive her.
Wow.
That's what millions of British people think of Camilla.
Absolutely.
She's still a deeply, shall we say, generously divisive character. I could say unpopular. Millions of people in this country cannot stand her. They think she's the marriage wrecker that ruined the perfect union between Charles and
I get that a lot in
by
America.
that sex chat they had. Have you heard it?
Oh no,
let's not go there. Not over the tea and crumpets.
That really put me off my jam in my sponge.
Yeah, no sponge talk today, okay? Unless it's about the sponge on the table. I hear that a lot from the American audience, because the American audience haven't kind of watched the evolution in the press, because the press did decide that there were some key people behind the scenes that worked to make her a much more likable character, and we in America didn't have all of that coverage. So I get that a lot from America.
I think she's more popular than she used to be.
Absolutely.
I like her now.
And things happen with Camilla, which I'll give her credit for. For example, when she went to the Normandy Beach Memorial the other day, and spent longer than our Prime Minister there, which was a good idea. If you watched any of that stuff, even people like me, it's very emotional.
You were crying almost. I saw you.
Yeah, I kind of almost broke up on air. Now, she went to this event and basically sobbed. And, so there she was. Now, people warm to that kind of genuine display of emotion. So I think that for all her, shall we say, difficult background in terms of being the marriage wrecker, that may be an unfair accusation, but being the third woman, the third person in that marriage and all that, for all of that, she is improving her image. People are warming to her more than they did, but do not make the mistake of thinking she is widely popular. To millions of people in this country, she's still the marriage wrecker.
So even seeing what she's done and helped carry the royal family over the last 6 months with this cancer.
It's another thing, Kinsey. You're right. She's been
has that not changed opinion in your age group, you think?
Well, when I chat to friends, I think her image, you're right, Kevin. I think it's improved and it's improving. I still think it's a progress, but I think that whole reputation that she had for wrecking the marriage is totally unshakable, and I don't think that's just something that will stain her. Is totally indelible, and that just won't go until she dies.
Is that fact or is that the crown? Like, do you feel like you're influenced by anything entertainment-wise, or are you influenced by, real world?
I say that plays a part of it, probably for my generation that watch Netflix's The Crown, but I would say me reading stuff and watching stuff, historically, I've just always not liked her. I just think she's stern. She looks like a crocodile. They
all do. They all look like crocodiles.
What do you mean by that?
I loved Diana so much that,
and
I've told you this before.
You should see his back tat.
It's just Diana.
It's like this little tramp stamp back here.
I used to take Hello Magazine. I used to buy Hello Magazine, and I used to go to the back of Hello Magazine when it was at the end of the year, and they used to do a premium number phone-in to ring up, and you could choose Diana's favourite outfit from the last 12 months. And so whilst boys my age were buying sort of, porn and football mags, I was buying Hello Magazine for Diana's outfits. That's how much I loved Diana. Yet I forgive Camilla.
I love Diana
forgive
too,
her.
and
I forgive her. And if she makes King Charles a better king, then I think that's wonderful.
I do think, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like history will shift in a much more positive direction towards them, and they'll be known as the greatest love story, in royal history, that they were meant to be. And maybe that's one of the reasons why Prince Harry is fighting so much to...
Well, that incident, the message that he sent her that we're not going to mention, that's hardly out of Romeo and Juliet, is it? If you know what I mean.
I don't know. Have you seen
I wouldn't necessarily classify this as a grand romance.
Super drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Obviously, you've not been on Tinder lately, Kevin, and that's probably best for you. All right, so we're gonna play a little game. I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna give you a quote, and I want you to know if you can guess which royal said it. Are you guys?
Okay.
Do I have your consent?
Good game.
Thank you. All right, who said it? I like to be a free spirit. Some don't like that, but that's the way I am. Diana or Harry?
I'm going to go with Diana.
Good call. You're so good.
Yeah?
Okay, yes.
Oh, wow,
Way to go.
okay.
All right, are you ready for this?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Were you peeking at my iPad?
No, I haven't been cheating.
I saw you
I won't be
peeking.
any good at this, but I'll try.
All right, wait, are you peeking? Because
Oh,
you
no,
would.
I'm not
I
looking.
know you.
I'm not looking.
Okay. People say it's not ambitious, but it is actually quite ambitious, wanting to help people. William or Charles?
William.
You peaked. I knew you would. I knew you'd peak.
Is
Yeah,
that-
you won.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Okay. We will not have failure, only success and new learning. Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth?
Which Queen Elizabeth?
The second.
Queen Victoria.
You won!
Yay!
You
God,
get
we're good, aren't
absolutely
we?
nothing. Okay.
Wow.
All
Three
right,
out of
and this
three.
is for the table. I've never wanted to be a lady who lunches. I've always wanted to be a woman who works. Oh my God, I just puked in my mouth. And this type of work is what feeds my soul. Meghan or Princess Anne?
That's got to be Meghan.
Meghan, that's
Meghan,
absolutely
Meghan without
Meghan.
Meghan.
Could
It's
you
a
bring
given
my bar
choice.
back? Could you bring my bar back? All right, so now it's time for us to decide the greatest royal of all time. Have you thought about this? Have you invested a lot of thought into this question?
For mine, I don't think I need to think at all. I think unequivocally.
Honestly, you should have been you should have been the climax.
Oh,
You
really?
jumped the gun.
Let's
I'm off
let
for the
Ryan
climax.
climax in a moment.
Don't want to see him
you
climax.
can use one of your products from the new American Riviera orgasm line that will help you. So, yeah. Are we going to come back to him last or not?
Yes, we're going to come to him last.
Okay,
So
fine,
you.
okay.
Okay,
You
so
get us going.
I'm going to start. My greatest royal for the fact that I felt that she personified what it was to be kind of rebel royal, and that is Princess Margaret.
Ooh.
Now, she used to smoke in bed and be brought gin and tonics in bed first thing in the morning.
Yeah, just
she
like you.
liked
Just like me.
the finer things in life. She, heaven forbid if she didn't have couture and she didn't have those beautiful things around her. She was a part of the London set in the 60s, friends with all of these famous people, Peter Sellers, the Beatles, at the coolest time during London's history. She was also a very hard-working royal. She was the patron of over 80 charities or organisations. She devoted a lot of her time to the NSPCC and the Scottish Society as well. So she's really into preventing cruelty to children. She had the most fabulous shoe collection, even when she burned her feet during one of her countless holidays in Mustique. For her 70th birthday party, she cared more about getting into a pair of slingbacks than she did about getting better. And that, to me, is true royalty. And she was friends with a man who was a gangster who had a cock so big it could go into a pint glass.
Okay, we'll fix that in edit. Thank you so much, Cristo.
That's John Biden. John Biden was a good friend of hers.
Bindon.
Bindon. No, other was Biden.
No,
Bindon.
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 We do not like to
that's
talk
Joe
about.
Biden
Yeah.
you're thinking
Oh,
of.
yeah.
We do not want to go into his hang down. Not on this broadcast.
He could
Okay.
get 5 pint glasses on it.
Yeah,
With the
he
handles.
could.
How do you know this fact about his
Because
wedding?
No, you're too young. It used to be in all the papers.
Yeah.
Ever.
Really?
News
And
of the
he-
World used
and
to
he-
feature diagrams of
His
how he
ring.
did it.
And he used to be able to put it in and it would reach the bottom of the pint glass. And it used to be his party trick. And she'd take
So
to
what
Mystique.
first attracted Princess Margaret to John Biden?
It was his eyes.
yeah, okay.
Kevin, how are you going to follow up with all this hang down talk?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go for recent ones, right? Because, you could go for... I mean, I always think the most entertaining royal ever, obviously, was King Henry VIII. And arguably the greatest royal was, the first Elizabeth, ahead of her time. But for the sake of concurrency, I'm going to go for Prince Philip. Undoubtedly the funniest royal ever.
funny.
The funniest royal ever. I've had a few words with him, always very gruff. He was a very gruff man. But there was always a...
So are you.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably why we got on so well. There was always a twinkle in his eye. He was amused by life. I think he was, to a certain extent, crushed by having to pay second fiddle to the Queen, but he did that with a great sense of duty. It wasn't easy for a guy like that to always walk behind his wife, to not be the star of the show, because what I do know about him, he was a natural socialite. If he walked into a room, he was the center of attention. He directed all the conversation, made all the jokes, and I went to this press event where he opened this what do you call it, plaque, and there was a silk thing on it, and he went like this, and just before he opened it, he gave a little speech with a drink in his hand. It was quite funny, and then he turned to the plaque and he went, "The world's most experienced plaque unveiler." Went like that. And the last thing I'd like to say about him that he doesn't get enough credit for, he was an incredibly stylish man, fantastic dresser, never put a foot wrong sartorially. The rest of the royal males could have a look at Prince Philip to learn a few things about their wardrobes. And he had jackets. What did he die? How old was he when he died?
Nearly 100, 99.
No, 99. He had suits and jackets that he bought when he was 20 years old.
Wow.
Still was able to wear them.
Wow.
So he stayed in good shape as well. Philip, for his funniness, for his sociability, for his clothes, and for the mark he made. You know, people talk about Philip to this day, and they always will. I'll plump for Philip.
I love that.
And actually, I think that what you've just said is really interesting about how difficult he would have found it, because he would have liked being the centre of attention. But also, that was precisely what Queen Elizabeth needed, because that she needed someone to be that, because she couldn't ever be that.
Yeah. And by the way, let's remember that the off air, if you like, when they weren't in the public eye, he was very much master of the house. Mm-hmm. She deferred to him privately in that traditional way, I guess, that the wives probably no longer do. That's probably quite right, but in those days, you know what I'm talking about. So away from the limelight, Philip was in charge. Very sort of blokey bloke, manly man, if you know what I mean, who wanted to do as much as he could. So yeah, Prince Philip for me.
Okay, I'm gonna, since you are the finale, I'll quickly just say, obviously, I love Princess Diana. Princess Diana brought me to each one of you. And I just thought she was so beautiful and sweet, kind. I remember watching her as a little girl, feeling like she was so approachable, but she really did feel like a magical princess when I was a little girl. And growing up, I think I was intrigued by kind of honestly, I was intrigued by the drama, for a lack of a better word. Felt so sorry for her, because I feel like the biggest mistake she made was actually falling in love with her husband, when in reality she was probably just an incubator. But I've always been enamored with her, and I love her, and I truly am grateful for her, because otherwise I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have met some of my favorite people.
And do you want to know how to be a really, really memorable royal who gets all the headlines? Have a name like Di.
Oh, yeah.
It's brilliant for headlines, you know.
Incredible fashion as well.
Yes.
Slow Ranger style.
And I even love her ugly sweaters. Like, even her ugly sweaters are so cute. I look for those.
It was always the power suits for me. I always thought she looked great in a
fashion leader, but proving that point that style is forever, fashion is temporary. So you see some of her outfits now, and you say, "Oh, she looks amazing." If you look at her, you think, "Oh my God, what the hell is she wearing?" But that's not her fault. Right. That's the march of time. We all know that. Look at the clothes you were wearing when you were 20 years old or something. Well, that would be now for you, but you know, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know.
Yes, some of the clothes I wore when I was 20. Yeah.
And now talk to me about who your favorite royal is of all time.
Well, I think I'll keep it short and sweet, because it doesn't really require any explanation or justification. Queen Elizabeth II, unequivocally the best royal that has ever existed, personified class and exactly what a monarch should be, head of state. That is the shining example. I think she is the best royal we have ever had. 70 years on the throne. I'm getting emotional. No, you can't get anyone better than Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah. And I will fight to the death if anyone argues with that.
She was phenomenal, you're absolutely right. I mean, you
Completely.
can't argue with it.
No. So rarely put a foot wrong as well. So rarely. And even the time where it says that she it is alleged that
history
claims she put the biggest foot wrong, which was after the death of Diana. What was interesting is that all of the time up until that point and since, it's the Queen's stoicism, it's the fact she doesn't complain, it's the fact she's not over-emotional that we love. And then immediately it was actually the public that changed their minds as to what they wanted.
Right.
We then said, actually, we want her to be touchy-feely, we want her to be crying on camera. So it was us. We were the ones that moved the goalposts, not her. She was just doing what she had done all along.
Right.
When I was at the Mirror, we had this idea, we saw this job being advertised, Royal Footman. Junior footman. So we got this young reporter called Ryan Parry
I remember
this was such a big scandal.
to apply for the job. And he comes back after weeks and says, "I've got it." I said, "Why? You got the job?" He said, "Yeah. When did you start?" He said, "Monday." I said, "Christ." So he went there, and but within days, the Queen clearly took a shine to him, because all the other servants apparently were jealous. Because within about 4 or 5 days, he was serving a breakfast, and all that stuff about Tupperware is true.
Tupperware.
He
This
used
is
to
one
have
of
to
my
bring
favorite
a
stories
selection.
to repeat.
She used to make sure that you put the tops on properly so that the cornflakes didn't go soft and things like that. And when he really attracted the jealousy of the rest of the staff was after about a week. She let him take the corgis out for a walk, and you did not get to take the Queen's dogs out unless she really loved you. So they go, "Oh, what is it with you? Why does she like you so much?" And we're thinking, and he's telling me on the phone, he says, "Yeah, apparently she really likes me. That's why I tell you." I said, "Well, within about a month, I don't think she's going to like you much anymore."
Yeah, I love that story. You're right. When I was doing press in America after she passed away, I was like, she was very humble. She ate her breakfast in Tupperware.
She genuinely was. She was really frugal. Always asking for the heating to be turned
and turning
down.
lights off and all things like that.
Yeah.
And one image that I just can't forget is during her final days, she was working right up until her death, and then she met Liz Truss and had an audience with the then Prime Minister. But I think that really just epitomised everything about the Queen's work ethic, resilience, attitude towards
and we're seeing
hard
that in
work
King Charles
and representing
right now
the
too,
country.
don't
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
think?
With her son.
And the pain she would have been in. I mean, because it's obviously widely accepted she was suffering from this form of cancer in her final sort of year, 18 months. That was the mobility issue. She would have been in the most incredible pain, but she was actually, still working, still doing her papers, making the appearances on the balcony and the things for the Jubilee. It's an incredible work ethic, incredible.
And obviously passed on to her son, and I imagine it will be passed on to Prince William, future King
Let's
William.
let's raise a glass.
Yeah. I threw mine back when you guys were going at it over the environment, but
You didn't throw it back over his sex toy thing, though? Wow.
No, I should have, though. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I had so much fun with each and every one of you. Kevin O'Sullivan, you are a heathen, and I love every ounce of you. Cristo, I think you are my brother from another mother, and I'm so grateful that you exist. Ryan-Mark Parsons, you are smart as a whip, and I can't wait to see what you do with your life, because we're going to be Instagram best friends.
Yes, absolutely.
You can like this video, subscribe to the channel, and come back for much more, because I hope that I talk to you gentlemen regularly now. I know a lot about you and a lot about some of your bedroom things now. And
That's nice. Yeah. Now, can we tuck into this? The jam is from American Riviera Orchard, everyone.
Let's do it. Bye. Kevin doesn't wave. He's allergic to it.